Welcome to the Manders Mindset podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Welcome back to Manders Mindset, where we explore the power of shifting your mindset to shift your life. I'm here today with Sam Mitchell, and he is the host of the podcast, Autism Rocks and Rolls, and I am so excited to be here with him today, and we are going to delve down his journey. Thanks for joining me, Sam.
Hey, good to be here, buddy.
So can you take us down memory lane a little bit? Tell us about childhood, upbringing.
Childhood was getting born on July 21st, 2002, and then pretty much getting diagnosed with ADHD off the bat. And then also at 4 years old, I was diagnosed with autism just because I was showing the classic symptoms, such as not making eye contact when my name was being told, and also not liking like loud noises such as fireworks. But now I'm a pyromaniac, so it works well for me.
You're a what maniac now?
Pyro.
What is that?
Just a guy who likes fireworks.
Now, you didn't like fireworks before, but you do now.
Yep. It's because of the noise level. I had sensory issues back then. I still do to a point. Now it's just mainly in the t-shirt format. I like my clothes getting wet because of the way it feels.
When did you notice the change in the sensory?
The change really came after I liked rock and roll music when I was growing up. That's what really helped me get the shift out of, okay, loud noises are really bad, to, oh, loud noises are really cool.
So you started looking at it differently after enjoying hearing rock music.
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you discover rock music? When did you get into that?
I think I was trying to find music to listen to on my headphones, and that's how I discovered it, was just scrolling through the channels.
Can you tell us a little bit about schooling for you, how education was?
Well, let's see. The staff was great. The students stunk because of dealing with exclusion. I got bullied a lot, got sat back with pencils for no reason. So yay on that. And then I also wasn't really placed in a special education classroom. It was more of, all right, I'm going to go to the resource room, which is a float pass, which means you would do the thing for the day, such as a lecture, a notes taking, then go to the resource room to get help for what you're doing, like help with your math homework.
Do you feel like that helped you?
Mm-hmm. I want to make it through school if I did it.
And now you said you dealt with a lot of bullying. Was there anything that helped you push through that?
The way I got through it was just trying to ignore them and go through the day, and trying to be around the one friend I did have as much as I can.
The friend you said that you did have, how'd you make that friend?
Kindergarten, school. It was literally, he dropped his backpack. Want me friends? Okay. And at the time when it was kids, we didn't have that social awareness of, oh, this might be a dangerous person. And he wasn't.
And then you guys became friends. And was he somebody you were friends with for a lot of time in school?
Yeah, we still are.
That's awesome.
He's now a brother to me, so he's been sticking around me my whole life. Shockingly.
That's amazing, though, that you had support that you could lean on while in school.
It is amazing. I find it helpful.
Now, I'm curious, when did you start the podcast?
It started, I joined my high school's media club, and I fell in love with it so much, I decided to start my own podcast. I didn't wait till college to expand my media skills, so I decided to start my own to learn on my own. And that was when Autism Rocks and Rolls was born. Great example is I never heard of StreamYard or Riverside until I started the podcast.
Okay. And now you started the podcast. Were you still in high school?
Yes, ma'am. I was, let's see, junior.
So you were young.
Yeah, young blood, I guess.
And how long ago was that?
Well, I'm not a math guy, so you might do the math. So it was in 2019. So I guess I
Uh,
can do the math real quickly.
About about 5 years.
Yeah, I think I was about, yeah, either 16 or 17.
So that's a long time. Now, not everybody does podcasting for that long. How have you been able to stick with it?
I've been able to stick with it because there's more to it. So it's not just a podcast, it's a nonprofit with a 501c3 federal corporation. There's a board members of 6. I'm an event planner in Indiana, which is where I'm from. We just got done with our Breakfast with Santa last month. I'm also a keynote speaker, done motivational speaking. I've spoken at Oklahoma, Orlando 3 times. One of the times actually is an event you're familiar with, Podfest. And I've also spoken in Canada, Stewart, Florida, and Washington, D.C. I think
Okay.
I've done keynote speaking in Daniels, West Virginia.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you've been doing the podcast, you've been doing all this about 5 years. Now, as a podcast host myself, I know there's pod fading. So has anything helped you not give up on the podcast? Like you're also doing keynote, you're doing other opportunities. What made you keep up with the podcast?
I think that's part of it is doing other opportunities because it would be boring if I just did a podcast for me. I think we get a little old. So I think, too, is just coming up with innovative ideas and coming up with comparing stuff to autism that I know would have thought of. And I think with just me in particular, there's a lot of directions you can go with that topic.
That's true. Would you say you dealt with any difficulties with starting the podcast?
Well, audio engineering is one. I'm not no audio engineer, so trying to pull in the plugs and trying to figure out where the cords go. I had to call in my advisor from Media Club to be like, hey, I want to come over here and set this up because I have no idea what I'm doing.
But
I'm smart, but not that smart.
I gotcha. But again, you had that support system that you could lean on for support and to help you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really awesome. You know, you mentioned on your podcast, I listened to an episode, but you mentioned something about a pivot point in life and how we often have those.
Yes, that was the fishing one. I remember
Yeah.
that one. Hey, I like fishing. You can't go wrong with fishing in the sea. Not in the river mainly. But right. So I think in life, what I was trying to say today is we all have pivot points, which to me is moments where you have an aha. It's different for everybody. Yours could be when you realize you don't have to please someone to live a good life. That was mine. But then there are others. Your epiphany moments maybe could be the simplest time of, oh, you gotta shape it this way to make a Mickey Mouse shaped pancake.
Now, what helped you realize you don't have to please somebody?
Because it wasn't working for me. And after 16 years of trying it, I got fed up. So I decided I'm going to change. And I'm not going to please people. If you don't like it, the door's right there. I'm not going to block it. It's an enter and exit. Your choice.
I love that. It's an enter and exit. I love that. And did something happen for you to realize that it wasn't working?
I think it was just as time goes on, it's like, why am I doing this? There's no results from it. No happiness. It's just pure, sad depression. And after 16 years of it, that's enough to make a human go berserkers.
That makes a lot of sense. So you made that shift to stop people pleasing just because it just wasn't working. A lot of people aren't able to make that shift that easily.
It wasn't easy. I mean, it took 16 years. So, of course it wasn't easy, but I had to do something or I wouldn't have made it.
Makes sense. And what would you say that helped you with the most?
Well, What's the question?
Like, what did that help you with? Like, stopping people pleasing. What did that help you with in your life the most?
Oh, it helps me with my life because I can go on and do things and not to think of, oh, what's their thought of me? It's odd because as much as I don't care, I do like to know. Once upon a time, because I posted what you think of me on Snapchat, and this was when I was, remind you, a high schooler, so probably shouldn't have done that or was wanting to know. It's really bad. I hear from someone who didn't like me regardless, you're done ASF. And it was like, okay. Because I got other things to worry about. Do you think I had time to worry about that one comment?
No, I like how you mentioned, like, you don't care, but you are curious. I think a lot of us have that intrinsic, like, even when we step away from the people pleasing, like, that mindset, some of us still have that curiosity of, like, what do people think? Like, we're human beings.
Yeah, it mind blows me. People are scared to ask. It really does mind blow me.
Why does it mind blow you that people are scared to ask?
Because the least thing I say is, no, I don't like you. Or I got called at DAF. But what happened from it? Nothing.
That's true.
Nothing literally happens if you get called dumb AF. Nothing happens. Other than you made one enemy. Who cares? There's a whole other people who say you're smart AF.
That's so true. I love that. You know, something I say that's a little similar, a little different, but, like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Sometimes I, like, even people pleasing, I struggled at times in my life with asking for time off requests or at a job or asking for certain things. And I heard somebody once say, like, if you don't ask, the answer is automatically no, because you didn't give the person the opportunity to tell.
Right. I agree. That's why I think it's because I became so successful with this show. I mean, that's why I got these guests I've had like Mick Foley, Kane, Jake the Snake, Amanda Mamma from AGT, and the others are wrestlers. I forgot to mention that. Because I literally was probably one of the most persuasive people you ever met on it, but also had the guts to literally ask, do you want to come on?
And so many times people don't. Is there something that helped you have that courage?
I think it was the fact of in sophomore year of school, I was kind of an arrogant person. And if you didn't like me, I would have said, screw you. A lot of it has left me. Believe me, I'm not as arrogant as I was. Not as much anymore. Maybe like 2% still there, but not bad. But I'm still not afraid to tell you, screw you.
I gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense. I think it limits a lot of people when they don't, because the answer is going to be no if you don't say anything, or if you don't ask, or if you don't tell somebody your thoughts, like, you don't know what they have to say. Like, it's not going to allow you to develop anything further.
Right. I mean, the worst the person can say is no, and nothing happens. Literally, no one dies. No one's behind bars. No one's bleeding. So, why not?
No, that's so true. That's so true. Now, you've won and you made it to the top 10 in the People's Choice Podcast Awards, which is so cool. I How was that?
Well, I just learned about it through my mom telling me. She was like, hey, you made the top 10 of the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Okay. I didn't realize how big that was, though. I didn't realize it was a big accomplishment because I thought a lot of other people made it. I didn't realize there was just a certain amount of people making it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think that's a big popular thing.
My bad.
No, but that's amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's really amazing.
Oh, do you really want me to say that, Mom? She's making me say I made the dean's list. My mother's saying that, not me.
That's amazing. You made the dean's list at where do you go to school?
I'm in VU. I'm in my last semester though. Currently, I'm on break. I'm going back next year, and I'll be finishing up broadcasting to get an associate's degree.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Congratulations. Now, did you always know broadcasting was what you wanted to go into?
No, oddly enough, before it was hospitality for our travel agency. One of my hobbies is traveling. So for vacation, I've been to Texas, Florida, Washington, D.C., once on a class trip, fishing trip in Mississippi. And then because I'm from the Midwest, I've obviously been around the Midwestern states like Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Okay. So how and when did the switch come from hospitality to broadcasting?
Well, the switch came from during the media club because I found something I was better at. But now looking back at what my life was like as a child, I think I realized back in 5th grade, there was a school news program we had at the school, which is actually where I'm at now. I'm at my old school because my mom's a teacher and our internet is not cooperating with us sometimes currently when it comes to this platform in particular. But we had the school program called Eastern Green Middle School News, and we always did parts of broadcasting in that area. And I didn't realize it until looking back on it.
Okay. And the media club, when did you get involved in that?
High school year, sophomore.
Okay. Gotcha. And so then you realized you were interested in that. Was there something about media and broadcasting that you enjoyed?
It was the editing and the fact that it was so cool that you could take away a sound that is unnecessary. I mean, it's going to sound really funny and maybe disgusting at the same time, but it's hilarious in my view. And you can tell, you'll see, because my child sense of humor is coming out. But if a fart noise was to happen right now on Zoom, basically that can be edited out. And I find that mind-blowing that you can edit it out, because in videos, you clearly can't do that.
That's true. That's true. And so you were fascinated by that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. Was there anything else about the editing process that you really enjoyed?
That's one, but then also the steps. It made sense, and it just clicked. The only thing I can say about it is how much sense it made. And I have ADHD too, so I had the chance to focus on something to me that is logical.
Okay. So you
And actually finally sit still for once. Let's put it that way.
okay, because you were like following the steps.
Mm-hmm. And one of the steps is sitting still. And it's something I can manage. I have terrible ADHD, so it's a rare occasion you see me sitting still.
Wow. Okay. Was there anything you didn't like about media and broadcasting?
When technology is an ass.
That I get. Because sometimes it's completely out of our control and it works with you or it doesn't.
That's the one part I still do not like about broadcasting, is when technology does not want to cooperate with you.
Yeah. No, I know. I want to transition a tad, and now you mentioned off when we talked off air that somebody will find you interesting. Is there something that made you realize this?
Well, I mean, I think it just came true because at first I was one of those people who thought, well, it seems my life, only a few people are going to find me interesting. One was the friend in school that I told you about previously, and the other was my cousin, who we're still friends and buddies today, despite the fact he's in Tennessee. I wish I could see him more, but we still keep in touch. But then, turned 16, more people found me interesting. Okay, I'm thinking, well, that's it. I'm going to Ivy Tech now to start general studies. not as much people found me interesting, but there were that did. Okay, now we're going to Vincennes University. Whoa, holy moly. Now people really do find me interesting. A lot more in college compared to my other times in my lifespan.
Okay, so when you went to college, you started noticing that and experiencing that, so you felt that shift.
Yeah. Mostly in college. I had that through my whole life. But if we're talking about numbers, it was more college, more school, and then just dims down from now to, being birth. We're reversing the order a little bit. But
I gotcha. I gotcha. And now you also mentioned to me how those with autism are just as capable as the person to your left or your right. Was this a specific moment that made you realize that?
well, I just think it's the truth. I mean, it's so stupid that there are people with autism who get ridiculed for doing nothing, and yet society even hasn't given them a chance. Are you kidding me? That's not fair nor right. I don't care who you are. Everybody should have a chance. Period.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
You don't
I
come out of the womb and say, oh, this person doesn't get a chance. That's not how this world works. Or at least America.
No, that's so true. Have you heard of a man named Jay Shetty?
No, ma'am, I am not.
He's a motivational speaker, he's an author, he's got a podcast. His podcast is called On Purpose. He ends his podcast with 2 segments, and I end my podcast with those as well.
Okay.
The first segment is the many sides to us, and there's 5 questions that need to be answered in 1 word each.
Oh, one word each. Well, because I'm talking, that might be a little hard, but I'll try.
What is 1 word someone who was meeting you for the first time would use to describe you as?
Mysterious. Interesting.
What is 1 word someone who knows you extremely well would use to describe you?
Maybe a thinker.
What is 1 word you'd use to describe yourself?
I would say a kind guy. That's what I try to do.
What is 1 word that if someone didn't like you or agree with your mindset would use to describe you as?
Probably. That's a good one. I'm about to play the Jeopardy theme song for that one for a little bit. I would say probably not nice words, but the unnicest word I can think of, if that's even a word, is scared. Probably.
What is 1 word you're trying to embody right now?
Leader.
I like that. The second segment is the final 5, and these can be answered in a sentence. What is the best advice you've heard or received?
The best advice I've heard or received. Well, let's see. It's honest. I think it's just true. It's from a song. Let It Die by 3 Days Grace. It's not fair when you see I didn't try. And it's so aggravating to experience it over and over again. But I can only do what I can do.
So why is that the best advice?
I think it's just true. Really. And I believe it's probably the best advice I've got because I think it goes back to finding someone interesting. Because it's not fair. But then the second part is like, I just don't care about you anymore. It's saying, okay, I hit the brick, but do I care? No. I just don't care about you anymore, and I'm moving my butt on. Am I hurt? Yeah, but I'm going still. Who cares?
Yeah, I get that. What is the worst advice you've heard or received?
Well, that's from people in general, what society thinks of me when I was having meltdowns because of sensory noises. He needs a spanking.
Mm. What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
I would say this might be a cliche one, but items. Like if it was Christmas time, right now, if it was today, December 25th, 2024, for Christmas gifts, I always like to have experiences instead of items.
Okay. Was there a certain time when you shifted and you wanted experiences versus items?
I think it's just not a certain time, it's just as I gotten older.
I gotcha. If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be, as if someone was reading it, what would you want it to say?
I would say my legacy could be just a helping hand. That's the goal of this podcast at the end of the day is where I lay my head down still. It's not about money. It's all about trying to change a population that, in my view, gets ignored way, and I mean way, too much.
Yeah. If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
The law would be don't sugarcoat the truth. Tell it how it is.
Why would that be the law?
Because I feel like the world, despite it being maybe people's feelings getting hurt, I rather not. I rather have their feelings get hurt because, from my personal perspective, you shouldn't hide what you're thinking, and the truth needs to come out at some point. Because let's be honest, if you don't tell it, it's going to come out eventually. It usually, most of the time, does.
That is so true. It's really true. Do you have any final words of wisdom? Anything else you want to share with the listeners? No pressure. I do just like to always give it back to the guest to have the final word.
Oh, it's fine. You're good. I think if the world could just be nice and not act so stupid, I think we get along so much better, don't you think?
I do. I do. Something my grandma used to always say to me was if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Well, I've heard that too.
Thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you for yours. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Manders Mindset. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.